Tulsi Gabbard,
Oh,
picked to be director of national intelligence. Now, I knew a lot about Tulsi in the way that she sort of like capes for, authoritarians, whether they are, Bashar al-Assad or Modi. She's a raging Islamophobe. She says she's Hindu. She's against forever wars, but really loves the ones that kill Muslims. And she's going possibly be the the head of the national intelligence, you know, whatever administration. And I am wondering, I didn't know this about her, but there's been new reporting about her part in the Science of Identity Foundation, which I guess her parents were both part of, and that she grew up in.
she did, yeah. So she's been a member of the Science of Identity since childhood. It's run out of Hawaii by an ex-Hare Krishna guy named Chris Butler, who separated out from ISKCON in the 1970s. He wanted to start his own gig. He had trouble with, the leadership. He wanted to also pretend that he was the group's chosen sort of divine leader. He's married to a yoga apparel guru named Y Lana, who some listeners or viewers might be familiar with. Like she's very she's basically the image of fitness on the back of every VHS tape that was produced on yoga in the 1980s.
Wow. So
yeah, so there's a big sort of wellness connection there as well. And as far as we know, Gabbard remains a devout follower of Chris Butler. We've got a recent video clip of her attending a veneration ceremony in 2018 where everybody is venerating his photograph. Her parents were part of his original group, and Mike Gabbard, her dad, has been a Hawaii state politician since 2002.
Yeah.
Mostly known for being an openly homophobic jerk, which is right in line with Butler's views. Butler is completely obsessed with sexuality. So Science of Identity is kind of a typical high demand situation where it's secretive and Butler demands a lot of obedience and he dictates diet choices, relationships, employment, and stuff like that. Ugh. Children are homeschooled or they're sent to Science of Identity boarding schools. Gabbard actually spent a chunk of her own schooling at an ashram school in the Philippines, and former students of that school described that environment as, quote, almost prison-like and traumatizing.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And so she really belongs to a group that teaches strict adherence to their ISKCON style interpretations of Hindu scriptures like the Bhagavad Gita. Gabbard was sworn into Congress on a copy of it, but you got to understand that it's not just the Bhagavad Gita, it's the Bhagavad Gita as interpreted by Chris Butler. And that means that there's a huge focus on personal purity and detachment from the material world, but also an obsession with demonizing homosexuality and traditional gender roles and women being subservient to men. And so, Gabbard's anti-trans position is pretty unsurprising. But you're flagging that, what does this mean for her attitudes towards Islam? And on one hand, she has this language where she preaches a kind of universal ecumenism. But, she has also been very supportive of Assad. I'm not sure why. I don't really understand the politics of her authoritarianism fetish, except that it kind of mirrors the structure of her religion. And Assad also was not Sunni, and therefore maybe a lesser danger in her view. I'm not sure. But, she did things like she pressed Obama to highlight the dangers of radical Islamism over any other threat to world security. Like if he didn't say that, then he wasn't really taking care of business. Right. And of course, she's an all-out hawk on Israel. So yeah, that's the picture. I don't think that we're getting a clear sort of sense of Tulsi Gabbard outside of the context of Chris Butler's views on sexuality and Hinduism and Islam.
What do you mean?
I think I'm sure she's influenced by many things, but given my background is in investigative journalism and cults and high demand groups, and when people grow up in these organizations and they don't leave and they don't recover and they don't go through a period of sort of self-evaluation and re-identification and figuring out how they're going to relate to the normal world or the regular world, they are there. That's who they are. And if you get this sense of her as somebody who's always photographed or always depicted as almost like an icon in a temple,
Mhm.
I mean, that's her husband. His name is Abraham, and I think he's part of the group as well. I don't know how long he's been part of it, but there's this way in which she is presented as a mouthpiece for the organization in the Science of Identity's members' terms. Like that's how
Oh.
they speak of her. And I think that if you get this sense that you don't quite know what her politics are and
Mhm.
how coherent they are, it's because the politics of Hindu nationalism are actually incoherent. They're not you're not going to square them with reality. They're going to turn out to be, there's going to be right turns and left turns, and you're not really going to understand what's going on, because the devotion is actually to, a vision of Krishna that Chris Butler has.
Ugh, God, that's so terrifying. And yet it dovetails. I mean, sort of like Zionism dovetails with, Christianity, in a disgusting, bizarre way. It's like Hindu nationalism also. It's like we're all in this against the gays and the Muslims. And that just like, great. We can agree until we fight.
Yeah, and I think that, yeah, I just think that the main takeaway is that it's not, I don't know how she's going to conduct herself as DNI, but what I really want to know is, how often is she going to be talking to Chris Butler on the phone, and what color is the phone going to be? Is it is it going to be the actual DNI phone, or is it going to be her personal cell phone, or
Jeez.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
there's a deep influence there, and I think there's more to be learned about it.
Joe KNYC on YouTube says Krishna ain't say that. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do it.